All right, so just wanted to come in to finish off this facing piece because in the live, I had to pivot because the facing piece will not match if you made the modification of inserting a center back zipper like I did. So on the live, I went ahead and drafted, but I'm just going to recap what I did. So let me grab a ruler. All right, so just to recap what I did, I'm not going to take out the pattern pieces for you guys, but I guess I will because it was still out. Today is Super Bowl Sunday, and I decided to go ahead and do this while I still had everything set up. So this is pattern piece number 1, the front. And what I did was I basically drafted a facing piece, which is what you're going to see right here. This is pattern piece number 1. I'm just going to put a 1. And this is pattern piece number 3, which is the back, okay? I'm just going to put 3A and 1A. Now, in order to draft this, I did it on the live, but I'm going to tell you what I did. I basically, from the center front, I went down 3 inches. I'm just going to show this to you. I went down 3 inches and made a line. Then from the shoulder, I went from by the neck out 3 inches and made another line. Okay, so that basically puts it where this notch is, okay? And then I traced the neck line, all right? So just to kind of give you context of what that looks like, it's this piece right here. So I went down 3 inches, and then the shoulder area, 3 inches, and then traced the neckline. After I traced the neckline, I took my ruler and went out 3 inches with every dot, 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, all the way around. Now you cannot do this, 3 inches, and then just keep moving it 3 inches because it's going to start getting smaller. You don't want that. So you want to move it 3 inches, move it according to that neckline. All right. I did the same thing for the back. So just to kind of fold up pattern piece number 1, grab pattern piece number 3. And I have done this before on a different dress, which I will put in the description box of the drafting facing in the description box. When I did like a black dress, I drafted facing for that, and I'll be sure to put that in the description box. So I did the same thing. I traced the neckline. I went from the neck all the way out to the shoulder, 3 inches, and made a mark. And then from the center back zipper area, from the top to the bottom, 3 inches, and made a dot. Then I did the same thing, connecting 3 inches from the dot out. All right. So just that is the recap. So now what I'm going to do is cut it out of fabric, but I'm going to put all my other pattern pieces away first. And just make sure you have all your pattern pieces. And then I'm just going to fold it all up. Now I'm going to have these 2 pattern pieces as well, to where you could definitely just keep reusing the pieces and make so many of these basic everyday dresses for you to wear throughout the summer and the spring. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. I think I folded it up enough because I could have just pressed all of the pieces down. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the instructions, which I really did not use at all during the live. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the pieces out. Okay, so I cut out the back, and one thing I want to mention right here is on the back, this is your center back. That's where your zipper area is. This is your side seam, okay? So you need to make a notch here. You do not need to make this notch where I have CB, but you definitely need to make that notch for your shoulder seams, okay? And then you're going to cut out the front. Just make sure you know that that is the front fold line, and this is your shoulder seam, okay? So let me go ahead and cut that out. All right, so now that I have that cut out, and yes, I used some gift wrapping paper that was just left over from Christmas. Don't judge me, but you could basically draft using whatever paper that you want. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out of fabric. So I'm just going to take my fabric that I have left over, which was quite a bit. And I'm just going to go ahead, lay it out and cut it out. So let me go ahead and do that now. All right, so this is the first one on the fold, and then this one is not on the fold. Now, I did not trace the, what do I want to say? I did not trace the grain line, but it's okay for this one. But normally I would make a grain line. The grain line for the back is up and down, and then the grain line for the front is just on the fold. So there, you wouldn't need a grain line for that, but do the best that you can and place it on your fabric. Now I'm gonna scoot this in a little bit so you could see how I'm cutting this out. Now I'm gonna grab my rotary cutter instead of my electric scissors and cut this out of fabric. All right, so now that I have it cut out of fabric, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut this out of interfacing also. So what I'm gonna do is take both pattern pieces and I'm gonna grab some interfacing and cut it out of interfacing. All right, so now that I have my fabric fused, this is the front because it was cut on the fold. So now what we're gonna do is with right sides together, you're gonna match up the notches for the back and the front, okay? So with right sides together, I'm gonna pin at the shoulder seams where those notches meet up. So I'm gonna pin there. All right, so now that I have it pinned at the shoulder seam using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and at the end, sew across both shoulder seams, then press the seam allowance open and finish off the bottom edge with your serger. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have my facing piece, here's the front, these are the back, here's your shoulder seams. I pressed the shoulder seams open. I finished off the bottom edge with my serger, and then I added a label on the right side of my back piece, okay? So looking at it, if you're looking at it like this, it's on this side, the right side. If you are looking at it upside down where you're looking at the front, it's going to be on this side. Now, one thing about the label, I made it centered with the back, which would be this is 3 inches. So 1.5 is where I put my top portion. And depending on if you're using a stripe, I did the bottom portion right here. So it's centered and it's about 1 inch away from the edge. Reason why I did that is simply because there's a zipper right there and I don't want that to catch, okay? So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and attach our facing to our dress. Now my dress is completely done. I finished this probably 15 minutes after getting off live today. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up that zipper. Now, if you notice, both sleeves are in the dress. The dress is already hemmed as well. So I'm gonna turn it to the front. And what I'm going to do is place my shoulder seams at the shoulder. And I'm going to pin. I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm going to do the other side the exact same way. Making sure your seam allowance on your dress is pressed towards the back and not towards the front of your dress. All right, so I'm going to put another pin here. And then I'm going to pin the back where you want this zipper portion open. And I'm going to pin the back just like this. And I'm gonna put one more by the zipper teeth. Pin that, okay? Now you're gonna put extra pins in between is what I'm gonna do, but you're gonna do the other side the exact same way. So I'm just gonna put some more pins right here to keep it all together. All right, so now that I have it pinned all the way around, what I'm gonna do is instead of starting at one side seam and go all the way around, the front kind of curves, I'm gonna start in the front. Using 5/8" seam allowance, I'm going to back stitch, so all the way to one side, and then back stitch at the end, flip it over, and still starting at the center front, go to back stitch there, and then go all the way to the other side. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have the facing sewn on, what I'm gonna do is go ahead and trim it down. So I sewed all the way around from the front to the side, and then from the other, turned it over from the front back to the side seam. After I did that, I went ahead and sewed at about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, not to get this zipper area, but yeah, close enough, okay? Just not to get that zipper area. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and cut the zipper off and trim the area down, okay? So I'm just gonna cut all the way across, being sure not to cut your dress or any fabric underneath, okay? So just make sure you're just trimming down the neck area. So go ahead and trim that area down now. All right, so I'm getting towards the other side, and I'm gonna cut that excess zipper off. And the reason why I cut it off because it extends, but I also have it closed out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my point turner and I'm going to turn this out just like this. And you have a finished off zipper area, okay? And I'm gonna use my point turner to poke out the rest of that, okay? Just like this. I'm gonna give it a press, but you don't wanna do it too hard, okay? Now I'm just showing you what it's gonna look like, but I'm going to understitch. So before I poke it out, what I wanna do is make sure that my seam allowance is pressed towards the facing, and I'm gonna understitch as far as possible, all right? So go ahead, press your seam allowance towards, so basically the seam allowance needs to be pressed towards your facing instead of to your dress. And then you're going to understitch at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, all right? So let me go ahead and do that now. All right, so now that I have it understitched, I'm gonna bring it up so you can see I understitch on the facing, not on the dress. That's what it looks like, understitched. Bring it up just a little bit. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is turn it to the inside, just like this. Make sure you poke out that portion where the zipper is. Cut any loose threads. I'm going to use my point turner not to make any holes, but just to be really careful and push that seam allowance out by the zipper, okay? I'm going to do the other side the same way and make sure you are clipping your loose threads, all right? So let me do the other side. So once again, take your zipper where the zipper is. I'm going to grab my point turner, poke this area out just like this. Now I'm going to give this a good press all the way around the neck area. And then what I'm going to do is take where my shoulder seams and I'm just going to tack it down with just from the neck area all the way down to the bottom, tacking it down to where this facing piece is not moving. Now I'm going to press it and then put my pins on the right side instead of the wrong side, okay? So let me go ahead and press it and do that, and then I'll show you the finished look. All right, so I pressed my facing in the front and on this, well, all the way around, really, the dress, okay? So now what I'm going to do is, because I do not want my facing flopping around, right at the shoulder seams, I'm just going to stitch in the ditch just to hold that facing down. But just note that it's hard to kind of do along this area of the front facing. So you're going to have to press it every time you wear the dress. Okay. So just clean up any loose threads, and I'm going to make a couple of stitches, and that would be all for this tutorial. Make sure you check out the live for the other portion. I just wanted to make sure it was clear on how to do the facing pieces. Okay. So stay tuned for photos. And thank you so much for watching this quick how to sew on the facing pieces.